Well, welcome to the 700 Club. It's amazing how partisan the President of the United States has become. In a speech yesterday, it was kind of like anybody who doesn't agree with him is either a nuclear warmonger or else he's deluded. Instead of saying there's some reason in my opponent's arguments, he doesn't do that. It's kind of like scorched earth. Maybe that's the way they did in Chicago, but he sure has picked it up. And the president says Republicans in Congress have something in common with the Iranians who are chanting death to America. Can you believe that? Because they both want to stop his nuclear deal. Well, what he didn't say was that many Democrats and millions of Americans are also against that deal, and they're not nuclear warmongers. Terry?
Well, the president is trying to defend the agreement with Iran and get Congress to go along with it. But he may have a tough road ahead. Dale Hurd has the story.
The president went to American University to push his arms deal with Iran. It was a speech filled with comparisons. He compared himself to JFK and wasn't shy about trumpeting his accomplishment.
This is the strongest non-proliferation agreement ever negotiated.
Mr. Obama compared opponents of the agreement to the politicians who pushed for the 2003 invasion of Iraq. And he compared Republicans to Iranian hardliners.
In fact, it's those hardliners who are most comfortable with the status quo. It's those hardliners chanting death to America who've been most opposed to the deal. They're making common cause with the Republican caucus.
The president warned that if Congress blocks the deal next month, it will put the U.S. on the path to some form of war. But Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Corker said that's not true.
Everyone in the United States knows that this president is not going to carry out military action against Iran. Iran knows that.
Meanwhile, the Washington Post says the deal is hemorrhaging support. A new poll shows the public against the agreement by a 2-to-1 margin, and 3 top Jewish Democrats in the House are now against it. Critics have a lot not to like: the lack of proper inspections, the secret side deals, and the danger to Israel. Democratic lawmakers may get an earful from constituents during their August recess before Congress votes on the deal in September. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is here with us, and you're bringing it straight from the horse's mouth. Chris, what have you got?
Well, I've been reading the what's called the GCOPA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And one of the things, and Pat, right, 2 things it does when you read this, you find out that what it has, the sanctions relief, you can count them. There's 1,043 individuals, organizations, and companies.
Come on, that many? It's not just a couple of people. It's 1,400.
Oh, no. It's all these individuals. There's 227 ships. There's 76 aircraft. In fact, this is all the listings in this. It's almost 40% of the agreement is the sanctions relief. And this is sort of like a jihadist stimulus program, because many of the companies that are affiliated with this are part of what's called the EIKO, which is the execution of the Imam Khomeini order. Now, Khomeini orders that, he controls that, and this is worth tens of billions of dollars.
The president goes on and said this is the most comprehensive arms control deal in history. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, and many of the people that are on this are because of terrorist activities, and there's no quid pro quo that they're going to have to stop their illicit activities. Many of the companies and individuals are responsible for American deaths. There's American blood on their hands, and yet this agreement doesn't release the 4 Americans in Iranian prisons right now.
Now, Chris, there's something else. I understand this deal may restrain Israel from attacking these nuclear facilities. Tell us about it.
Yeah, there's another graphic that we have, Pat. It talks about this is in part of the agreement, and it says the EU plus 3, and that's part of the P5 plus 1. The cooperation in the following areas can be envisaged. Cooperation through training and workshops to strengthen Iran's ability to protect against and respond to nuclear security threats, including sabotage. And Pat, the word that really struck me when I was reading this was sabotage. Now, Israel is the country most accused of doing sabotage against Iran's nuclear program.
That was the Stuxnet virus that was put in probably by the U.S. and Israel. And this agreement says the U.S. will protect against such things.
Exactly. So it begs the question that the U.S. puts itself in the position protecting Iran and maybe protecting Iran against Israel.
Well, the supreme leader of Iran has written a book about destroying Israel. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, Israel takes the supreme leader at its word. You know, he wants to outwit America, and he wants to destroy Israel. And, you know, Israel also believes that Iran has an eschatology, an end-time eschatology of bringing back the 12th Imam of the Mahdi. We've talked about it many times.
Many times, absolutely.
And we've talked about, too, an Iranian expert who says, first of all, they want to destroy Israel because it represents Judaism. Then they want to destroy the great Satan, which is America, which represents Christianity.
They definitely do that.
Oh, they do want to do that. Exactly what they want to do. And they mean what they say.
You're looking at this thing from the standpoint of somebody who's now living in Israel. What do you think's wrong with Obama?
Well, I think he either is naive or he has a plan. I think he wants to shift the balance of power away from our traditional allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia, and he wants to shift that to Iran. And what that has done, Pat, is something unprecedented. It's really formed an alliance between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and some people say that's maybe Obama's greatest foreign policy achievement. He's brought those two enemies together.
Is Israel free to attack these facilities if it wants to?
I don't think so. Right now, the IDF Chief of Staff has assembled a team to examine a military option against Iran. 47% of Israelis would support a unilateral strike against Iran's nuclear program.
You think you're going to try? Do you think they will?
I think they will. I mean, that's my gut reaction.
Yeah, mine too.
In November 2013, we were in Moscow with Netanyahu at the time, and we had a background briefing because he was up there trying to convince Vladimir Putin not to sign what was then the interim agreement. And we had a background briefing, and I had the opportunity to ask him about, did he feel he was like Churchill at the time? And he said he did. I mean, Churchill at the 1930s was railing against Adolf Hitler and a rearmed Nazi Germany, and now he's railing and warning the world about a nuclear Iran. And he thinks, I believe he feels like he's sort of a Churchill, but he's also like the biblical Esther, who was, for such a time as this, was able to stand in the gap against genocide, and I think that's what he feels called to right now.
He owes it to his people. He cannot allow that country to be destroyed. I mean, the Iranians have been calling it a one-bomb state. I mean, all it takes one nuclear bomb, and they'll, destroy Israel.
Yeah, and Pat, to your point about what is Obama thinking? Some of the Middle Eastern experts I've talked to have said that these negotiations, not only in the last few months, but the last number of years, has been like Iran taking the U.S. to a Middle Eastern bazaar, and yet the United States and the Europeans don't understand the rules of the bazaar. And it looks like with this agreement, they've bought a magic carpet. They really can't fly.
Well, we'll see whether we'll have the Arabian Nights coming down. Chris, thank you for this insightful look at that agreement, and I hope the American people and the Congress will wake up to what's happening. Well, Chris has written a book, by the way. It's a very interesting book called Destination Jerusalem. It deals with what's happening in the Middle East today, including the threats from Iran and ISIS, and you can find it on Amazon.com. It's called Destination Jerusalem. Chris Mitchell. God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.